What if I told you that the invention of radio didn't just change how we communicate, it literally created the modern UFO phenomenon? That the same technology that brought you your favorite music also convinced thousands of people they were receiving messages from aliens? This isn't science fiction, this is history. In 1947, when Kenneth Arnold spotted those famous flying saucers over Mount Rainier, radio had only been around for about 25 years. But in that short time, it had completely rewired the human brain. For the first time ever, invisible voices were pouring out of the air, and suddenly, people started claiming those voices were coming from outer space. Here's the thing nobody talks about. Before radio existed, if you heard voices that weren't there, you were either talking to God or going insane. There were no other options. But radio changed everything. It made the impossible normal. Voices without bodies became as common as turning a dial, and that's when things got really weird. The story actually begins even earlier than most people realize, with Nikola Tesla himself. In 1899, working from his experimental station in Colorado Springs, Tesla was conducting high-voltage electrical experiments when he detected something extraordinary: rhythmic electrical signals that seemed to be coming from space. Tesla was convinced he had intercepted communications from Mars or Venus. He described receiving electrical actions that displayed such a clear suggestion of number and order that they were not traceable to any cause then known to me. The signals came in groups of 1, 2, 3, and 4 pulses, leading Tesla to believe he was detecting intelligent communication from another world. I have a deep conviction that highly intelligent beings exist on Mars. The signals were such as would result from an effort by intelligent beings to communicate with us. Tesla's interpretation of these signals was revolutionary. Here was one of the world's leading electrical engineers claiming that his radio equipment had detected extraterrestrial intelligence. He wasn't describing mystical visions or spiritual revelations, he was describing an engineering problem that could be solved with better equipment and more sophisticated analysis. This technical approach to cosmic communication would become the template for the entire Contactee movement that followed. Tesla had shown that you didn't need to be a prophet or mystic to receive messages from other worlds, you just needed the right radio equipment and the knowledge to operate it. Tesla spent years trying to develop a more powerful system for interplanetary communication. He envisioned massive radio transmitters that could send signals to Mars and receivers sensitive enough to detect their replies. Though he never succeeded in establishing two-way communication, his work established the fundamental premise that alien contact would be a technological achievement rather than a spiritual revelation. What makes Tesla's story particularly significant is that his mysterious signals were almost certainly natural radio phenomena, possibly signals from Jupiter's magnetosphere or other astronomical radio sources that wouldn't be properly understood until decades later. But Tesla's interpretation of these signals as evidence of alien intelligence created a new category of human experience: the technological encounter with extraterrestrial intelligence. By the time World War II ended, radio had become the nervous system of human civilization. Radar operators had spent years scanning the skies for enemy aircraft, developing an almost supernatural sensitivity to unusual signals and mysterious blips. Radio operators had coordinated global military operations, learning to distinguish between human voices and electronic interference across thousands of miles of hostile airspace. These technical skills created a generation of people who were professionally trained to detect and interpret unusual signals. When these same people began reporting contacts with extraterrestrial intelligence in the late 1940s and early 1950s, they brought their professional expertise with them. Picture this, it's 1950, and a man named George Adamski claims he met an alien from Venus in the California desert. But here's the kicker, this alien doesn't just speak to him face to face, it communicates through what Adamski describes as radio-like transmissions and telepathic frequencies. Sound familiar? Adamski wasn't alone. Across America, ordinary people were suddenly reporting contact with beings from other worlds, and they all described it using the exact same language radio operators use to talk about long-distance communication. They spoke of tuning in to alien frequencies, receiving transmissions from space, and needing better reception to hear the cosmic voices more clearly. This wasn't coincidence. This was cause and effect operating on the level of human imagination itself. Radio didn't just prove that invisible voices could travel through space, it suggested that space was full of invisible voices we couldn't detect, and once people started thinking that way, it was only a matter of time before someone asked the obvious question. If humans can broadcast through the air, who else might be broadcasting through space? For thousands of years, divine revelation came through burning bushes or angelic visitations. But once radio proved that invisible voices could travel through space, carrying intelligence across vast distances, our collective imagination made a crucial leap. If radio waves could carry human voices across Earth, couldn't cosmic waves carry alien voices across the galaxy? The technology historian James Burke would probably argue that we're witnessing one of humanity's great metaphorical shifts. Throughout history, each new communication technology has fundamentally altered how humans understand consciousness, intelligence, and divine communication. The printing press changed how we thought about knowledge and authority. The telegraph changed how we thought about distance and time. Radio changed how we thought about the nature of space itself. The cultural critic Mitch Horowitz takes this even further. He sees the Contactee movement as essentially spiritual channeling dressed up in the language of the radio age. The angel became the alien. The prophetic vision became the cosmic broadcast. The medium didn't commune with spirits anymore. They tuned into extraterrestrial frequencies. But this transformation wasn't just metaphorical window dressing. Radio technology had actually changed the fundamental structure of human consciousness. For the first time in history, humans could receive complex information from sources they couldn't see, touch, or locate. This created an entirely new category of experience that traditional spiritual frameworks couldn't adequately explain. What made the radio age contactees different from earlier prophets and mystics was, honestly, their technical sophistication. Many of them actually had professional backgrounds in electronics, engineering, or radio operation. They understood things like frequency modulation, signal amplification, and interference patterns. And when they described their alien contacts, they used this really precise technical language that clearly demonstrated genuine expertise in radio communication. George Van Tassel, one of the most prominent contactees, was a former aircraft mechanic and test pilot who had worked with advanced aviation electronics. When he described receiving messages from an alien entity called Ashtar, he explained the process in terms that any radio engineer would recognize. Just as your radio can be tuned to different stations, the human mind can be tuned to different cosmic frequencies. The space people broadcast continuously on the higher frequencies, but most humans haven't learned to adjust their mental receivers. This wasn't just spiritual talk, it was engineering talk. Van Tassel had turned enlightenment into a technical problem that could be solved with better equipment and proper tuning. He even built a massive structure called the integratron, which he claimed was designed to amplify human reception of alien transmissions through electromagnetic resonance. Arthur Matthews, a Canadian electrical engineer, claimed that aliens from Venus had provided him with advanced radio circuit designs. He published detailed technical manuals containing circuit diagrams, frequency specifications, and construction details for what he called interplanetary communication devices. Whether or not these devices actually worked, Matthews demonstrated the sophisticated technical thinking that really characterized the radio age contactee movement. Radio fundamentally rewired how we think about reality itself. Before radio, the air was just empty space. After radio, it became a hidden ocean of signals, most of them completely beyond our ability to detect. If you couldn't hear the radio waves without the right receiver, you had to wonder what other messages might be floating around us, undetected. The contactees believed they had found the answer. They weren't just meeting aliens, they were learning to tune into a cosmic broadcast that had been there all along, just waiting for humanity to develop the metaphysical equivalent of radio receivers. This concept of invisible information permeating space was, honestly, genuinely revolutionary. It suggested that intelligence wasn't bound to physical brains or local interactions. Knowledge could exist as pure information, traveling through space and time, just waiting to be detected by anyone with sufficient technical sophistication. Radio also introduced the concept of bandwidth and frequency allocation. Different radio stations broadcast on different frequencies to avoid interference. The contactees extended this concept to cosmic communication, explaining that different alien civilizations broadcast on different mental frequencies to maintain clear communication channels. Advanced contactees learn to scan across different cosmic frequencies, much like radio operators scanning across different wavelengths to find active transmissions. They developed techniques for reducing mental static and improving their signal-to-noise ratio when receiving alien messages. What's particularly striking about contactee accounts is how thoroughly they adopted radio terminology. Contactees rarely described their alien encounters as meetings or visitations. They were contacts using the same language that radio operators used to describe successful communication with distant stations. The aliens themselves were often described as operators or communicators. Their spacecraft weren't just vehicles, they were stations or transmitters. The messages they delivered weren't prophecies or revelations, they were transmissions or broadcasts. This linguistic shift reflected a pretty profound change in how humans conceptualized intelligence itself. In the radio age, intelligence became something that could be transmitted, received, and amplified. Knowledge wasn't bound to physical brains or sacred texts. It could travel invisibly through space and be picked up by anyone with the proper equipment. Truman Bethurum claimed contact with aliens from the planet Clarion, who communicated through thought transmission. He described the process in terms borrowed directly from radio engineering. They modulate their thoughts onto carrier waves that can penetrate the Earth's electromagnetic field. The thoughts are demodulated by the human brain, which acts as a natural receiver when properly tuned. Orfeo Angelucci reported receiving messages from space beings through both mental telepathy and actual radio-like devices. He described being given a small crystalline device that could translate alien thought patterns into audible English words. It worked like a radio translator, Angelucci explained, converting their mental frequencies into sounds my ears could detect. Daniel Fry described aliens who spoke to him through electronic apparatus that translated their thoughts into English. The aliens explained that direct mental contact was impossible due to the vast differences between human and alien thought patterns, but electronic translation could bridge the gap by converting alien concepts into equivalent human ideas. Many contactees described undergoing extensive training to improve their reception of alien messages. This training often involved meditation techniques, dietary modifications, and mental exercises that, interestingly enough, were remarkably similar to the procedures radio operators used to optimize reception of weak signals. Contactees learned to tune out interference from their everyday thoughts, to amplify alien signals through concentration, and to clarify messages through practice. They developed elaborate protocols for establishing contact, maintaining signal strength, and verifying the authenticity of received transmissions. Some contactees reported that aliens had installed hardware upgrades in their brains to improve communication efficiency. These upgrades were typically described as small crystalline implants that functioned like biological radio receivers, automatically tuning to alien transmission frequencies and amplifying incoming signals. The psychological appeal of this technical model was enormous. Unlike traditional mystical experiences which were often described as overwhelming and incomprehensible, radio-based alien contact felt manageable and progressive. Contactees could practice their reception skills, monitor their improvement, and work toward more advanced forms of cosmic communication. Howard Menger claimed that aliens had taught him to recognize different types of cosmic transmissions. He explained, "Learning frequencies are different from command frequencies. Emotional transmissions operate on different wavelengths than purely informational broadcasts. Advanced operators can filter out unwanted signal types and focus on specific categories of alien communication." Several contactees published detailed technical manuals describing the equipment and procedures needed for reliable alien communication. These manuals read like engineering textbooks, complete with circuit diagrams, frequency charts, and step-by-step operational procedures. George Van Tassel's Proceedings of the College of Universal Wisdom contained extensive technical documentation of what he called fourth-dimensional communication systems. He provided specifications for building cosmic receivers using standard electronic components combined with specially tuned crystals and precisely calibrated electromagnetic field generators. Van Tassel claimed that aliens had explained the technical principles underlying telepathic communication. According to his alien contacts, human thoughts generate electromagnetic fields that can be detected and decoded by sufficiently sensitive equipment. The aliens had developed technology that could amplify these thought fields and transmit them across interplanetary distances. Arthur Matthews published several volumes of Venusian technology that included detailed plans for building interplanetary communication devices. His designs incorporated advanced concepts like frequency multiplication, signal phase modulation, and automatic gain control, all described with genuine technical sophistication that really suggested real engineering knowledge. Whether these devices actually worked was almost beside the point. The important development was that contactees were treating alien communication as an engineering problem that could be solved through technological advancement rather than spiritual development. The Contactee movement developed sophisticated training programs for improving human reception of alien transmissions. These programs combined elements of radio operator training with meditation techniques borrowed from various spiritual traditions. Students learned to recognize different types of cosmic interference, from solar radiation to emotional static generated by human thoughts. They practiced techniques for filtering out unwanted signals and focusing on specific alien communication channels. Advanced students could reportedly distinguish between transmissions from different alien civilizations based on their characteristic modulation patterns. Wayne Aho, a contactee from New Mexico, established what he called the New Age Foundation, which offered correspondence courses in cosmic communication. Students received detailed instruction manuals containing exercises for developing telepathic sensitivity, techniques for establishing contact with specific alien groups, and troubleshooting guides for resolving common reception problems. The training emphasized that cosmic communication was a skill that could be learned through practice, rather than a gift reserved for specially chosen individuals. This democratic approach made alien contact accessible to anyone willing to invest the time and effort needed to develop their reception capabilities. Students kept detailed logs of their contact attempts, recording signal strength, message clarity, and communication duration. They learned to identify optimal reception conditions, such as specific times of day when atmospheric interference was minimal or geographical locations where the Earth's magnetic field enhanced cosmic signal reception. Looking back from our current digital age, the contactee movement, really seems to have anticipated the internet by several decades. The aliens described by contactees operated something very much like a cosmic version of the World Wide Web, a vast network of interconnected communication nodes sharing information across galactic distances. Different alien civilizations were like different websites, each broadcasting their own content but all connected through the same fundamental communication protocols. Earth was like a primitive computer that had just learned to access this cosmic internet for the first time. The aliens served as helpful tech support, explaining how to use the galactic communication system more effectively. They provided tutorials on mental browsers and instructions for accessing different channels of cosmic information. Advanced contactees could reportedly access alien databases containing vast amounts of scientific and spiritual knowledge. This networking model solved theological problems that had plagued earlier forms of supernatural communication. Instead of competing revelations from different divine sources, the contactees described a coordinated cosmic curriculum delivered through a unified alien educational system. George King, founder of the Etheria Society, claimed to receive regular transmissions from what he called the Interplanetary Parliament. This cosmic organization coordinated the activities of multiple alien civilizations that were collaborating to help humanity evolve spiritually and technologically. King described receiving detailed mission briefings, status reports, and technical updates through his specially modified radio equipment. The concept of networked cosmic intelligence also explained why different contactees often received similar messages despite having no contact with each other. They weren't competing for exclusive revelations. They were all accessing the same cosmic information network, receiving different portions of a coordinated alien education program. The radio age introduced new anxieties about invisible transmission and electronic surveillance. If the air was full of signals, how could you know who was listening? Radio operators during World War II were acutely aware that enemy forces might be intercepting their transmissions. The contactees flipped this anxiety into an opportunity. If aliens could monitor human radio transmissions, then humans might be able to monitor alien transmissions. This concept appears repeatedly in contactee literature. Aliens often explain that they first became aware of Earth through human radio broadcasts leaking into space. They describe monitoring Earth's radio transmissions with great interest, learning human languages and studying human culture through the electromagnetic signals constantly radiating from our planet. Some contactees claimed that aliens were particularly attracted to certain types of radio programming. George Van Tassel reported that his alien contacts were fascinated by Earth's music broadcasts, spending considerable time analyzing human musical frequencies to understand the relationship between sound patterns and human emotion. Frank Stranges claimed that aliens had been monitoring Earth's radio communications since the early 1920s. According to his alien contacts, they had compiled extensive databases of human radio content, creating detailed profiles of human civilization based on our electronic communications. They understood human culture primarily through the radio signals we broadcast into space, making radio our inadvertent ambassador to the galaxy. The aliens often expressed concern about the content of human radio broadcasts. Several contactees reported receiving criticisms of Earth's violent and materialistic radio programming. The aliens suggested that humanity's radio transmissions were creating a negative impression of Earth throughout the galaxy, potentially affecting our chances for acceptance into cosmic civilization. The contactee movement quickly developed a thriving commercial ecosystem. Contactees established organizations, published newsletters, and organized conferences where they shared technical information about alien communication methods. They sold books, recordings, and equipment related to cosmic contact, creating what was essentially a new industry based on technological spirituality. George Adamski's Mount Palomar Star Company sold photographs of alien spacecraft, recordings of alleged alien voices, and instruction manuals for establishing cosmic contact. His customers included engineers, radio operators, and electronics enthusiasts who were attracted to the technical aspects of his alien communication claims. George Van Tassel's annual spacecraft conventions at Giant Rock drew thousands of attendees who came to hear presentations on cosmic communication technology. These events featured technical workshops where participants could learn to build their own alien communication devices using detailed plans provided by various contactees. The conventions created a community of technically minded spiritual seekers who shared information about cosmic communication methods. Attendees exchanged circuit diagrams, compared reception techniques, and collaborated on building more sophisticated alien communication equipment. This technical collaboration gave the contactee movement a legitimacy that purely mystical movements often lacked. Howard Menger established the High Bridge Foundation, which manufactured and sold what he called cosmic communication devices. These devices were based on technical specifications that Menger claimed to have received from his alien contacts. While the devices probably didn't enable communication with aliens, they did demonstrate the sophisticated technical thinking that characterized the contactee movement. Of course, not everyone accepted the contactee interpretation of radio technology and alien communication. Skeptics pointed out that the contactees' descriptions of alien technology were, well, remarkably similar to existing radio technology, just a little bit more advanced. If these aliens were truly from distant star systems, wouldn't their technology be, completely incomprehensible to humans? The contactees had ready answers for these criticisms. They explained that truly advanced alien technology would indeed be incomprehensible to humans, so the aliens deliberately presented their communications in terms that humans could understand. The radio metaphors weren't limitations of alien technology, they were actually pedagogical tools designed to help primitive humans grasp cosmic concepts. This explanation was practically unfalsifiable. which made it very appealing to contactee believers but honestly, very frustrating to skeptics. Every time critics pointed out that alien technology sounded suspiciously similar to human technology, contactees could respond that the aliens were deliberately using familiar metaphors to communicate with less advanced minds. Skeptics also noted that contactee claims about alien communication technology evolved in parallel with human technological development. Early contactees described aliens using technology similar to 1950s radio equipment. Later contactees described aliens using technology similar to radar, television, and early computers. This parallel evolution suggested that contactees were, maybe unconsciously, projecting current human technology onto their alien encounters. The contactees countered that this parallel development was evidence of alien guidance in human technological progress. They claimed that aliens had been secretly inspiring human technological advancement, ensuring that human technology would eventually become compatible with alien communication systems. From this perspective, human technological development was actually alien education, preparing humanity for eventual integration into galactic civilization. Government agencies also took notice of the contactee movement, though not necessarily for the reasons contactees hoped. The Federal Communications Commission began investigating claims that contactees were using unlicensed radio equipment to communicate with aliens. Several contactees were cited for operating radio transmitters without proper licenses or for broadcasting on frequencies reserved for other services. These legal troubles highlighted the ambiguous status of alien communication within existing regulatory frameworks. If aliens were really broadcasting to Earth, whose responsibility was it to monitor these transmissions? Which government agency had jurisdiction over interplanetary communication? The FCC's radio regulations had been written for terrestrial communication. They didn't address the legal issues raised by cosmic broadcasting. Some contactees argued that alien communications fell outside FCC jurisdiction because they originated from outside Earth's territorial limits. Others claimed that aliens were using thought transmission rather than electromagnetic radiation, making their communications exempt from radio licensing requirements. These legal arguments rarely succeeded, but they did establish precedents for how future alien communication claims might be regulated. The military also showed interest in contactee claims, though primarily from a security perspective. Several contactees reported visits from Air Force personnel who questioned them about their alien communication methods. The military was concerned that contactee activities might interfere with radar operations or provide foreign agents with cover for espionage activities. Some contactees claimed that the military was secretly collaborating with aliens, using contactee communications to establish covert diplomatic channels with extraterrestrial civilizations. These claims were never substantiated, but they reflected the contactees' belief that their communication activities had genuine strategic importance. Many contactees described alien contact as an evolutionary process that would gradually transform human consciousness. They claimed that exposure to alien transmissions was slowly upgrading human mental capabilities, preparing humanity for eventual integration into galactic civilization. This evolutionary model borrowed heavily from radio engineering concepts. Just as radio receivers could be modified to receive new frequency bands, human consciousness could be modified to receive cosmic transmissions. The aliens were essentially providing firmware updates for human consciousness, gradually expanding our reception capabilities over multiple generations. Contactees often described experiencing progressive improvements in their communication abilities. Beginning contactees might receive only fragmentary messages or emotional impressions from alien sources. More experienced contactees could reportedly engage in detailed conversations with multiple alien civilizations. The most advanced contactees claimed to serve as relay stations, forwarding messages between different alien groups, or translating communications for less experienced human receivers. This progressive development model made alien contact seem both accessible and aspirational. Anyone could begin receiving basic alien transmissions with minimal training, but achieving advanced communication capabilities required dedicated practice and continuous self-improvement. This created a spiritual hierarchy based on technical competence rather than moral worthiness or divine selection. The aliens often explained that Earth was currently transitioning from a third-dimensional communication system based on physical speech to a fourth-dimensional system based on thought transmission. This transition was being facilitated by the gradual introduction of radio and television technology, which was teaching humans to receive complex information through electromagnetic radiation. The Contactee movement ultimately faded by the late 1960s, replaced by different forms of UFO culture that emphasized physical evidence over spiritual communication. But the basic conceptual framework, the idea that aliens communicate through invisible transmissions that can be received by properly tuned human consciousness, remains influential today. Modern UFO culture still uses radio metaphors to describe alien contact, though these metaphors have evolved to incorporate newer technologies. Abductees often describe telepathic communication with aliens in terms borrowed from digital communication systems. Contemporary contactees describe alien communications as resembling digital downloads, Wi-Fi networks, or satellite transmissions. The underlying model remains the same, but the technological metaphors continue to evolve. Today's contactees often claim that aliens communicate through quantum entanglement, electromagnetic field manipulation, or direct neural interface. These descriptions reflect our current understanding of cutting-edge communication technology, just as the 1950s contactees described alien communication in terms of radio technology. Some modern contactees have embraced internet technology as a new medium for cosmic communication. They claim that aliens are now broadcasting through social media platforms, sending coded messages through electronic mail, or establishing contact through online forums. The cosmic internet that 1950s contactees could only imagine has apparently become literal reality. What the contactees really discovered wasn't evidence of alien intelligence. It was evidence of how profoundly new technologies reshape human consciousness. Radio didn't just change how we communicated, it changed how we imagined the nature of mind, spirit, and intelligence itself. The Contactee movement represents one of the first examples of how humans integrate new technologies into their spiritual worldview. They demonstrated how